everyone, this is DragonLoon, and today we are going to be playing the game Ostriv. This game just recently, past few weeks, came out on early access. It is still in development, and we are currently on Alpha 3. Game developer is still constantly working on new content, but it looks like a really fun game. If you're a fan of games such as Banished, or any game of that nature, this game would be one for you. It is a lot more freeform than Banished is, where Banished is rigid and grid-like. This game is more, shall we say, natural? Anyway, I've been playing around for a bit, and I've gotten fairly decent at understanding the mechanics of what's going on, so let's go ahead and jump in here. I've actually looked at all of the different maps, and the one that I actually do like the best is either level 8 or level 6 here. They tend to have more flat ground, which allows you to put the structures or where you would like, rather than, you know, trying to find just the right angle to put something where you would like it. The most recent success that I've had has been on level 6, so let's jump in there. Alright, the first thing you want to do, and whenever you get into a game starting off, is go ahead and pause that. You can do that either by hitting the pause button up here at the top, or hitting your spacebar. Standard controls here in this game apply, which is WASD to move the camera around. Your Q and E buttons rotate the camera around. And when you do have a building selected, your R and T keys will rotate those into a different position. I always, I'm not sure why I do it, but I always like rotating the camera and orienting myself to where I'm pointing north. I tend to try and align things on a north, south, east, west orientation, and so pointing the camera to the north just gives me that little help. So the first thing you want to do is you want to locate a area where there are a lot of reeds. That is right here, these tall bushes here. You also want to locate an area that has a decent amount of trees and forestry. That you can find right here, obviously. That is a good patch. One thing that I did recently come to discover is you also want to locate limestone deposits. You'll need those in later game. We're talking around year 5 or 6. So that is what we are looking for here. And this area right in here is almost the perfect area to start a camp. You got your trees here, you got plenty of reeds here, you got plenty of access to the rivers. Now, the first building that you can build is your camp location. This will give you 9 families. That's 9 males and 9 females, and if you look up here at the top, you'll be able to see all of your basic stats when it comes to your population, to include such as how many adults you have, how many open job vacancies you have, and the breakdown of which gender can actually apply for them, whether it's looking for males or females. I'll also tell you whether you'll get migrants in when you build new houses, or whether they'll just kind of tell you, no, we're not moving in. So, let's go ahead and get started off. We'll take our camp here, and if you scroll across the river, you'll see that it says inaccessible. This is because there is only one location that carts will enter the map, and that happens to be on this side of the river. As I said, this is a really great place to get started. But if you put your camp right here, you're going to kind of be hemmed in by the forest until you can get it cut down. So what I think I'm going to actually do, I'm actually going to start over here. And this will actually, by putting this down, this will actually give you a general location to start your town square, where during this medieval time frame that this game is set in, people would congregate around. That's where all the shop stalls would be. So we'll go ahead and place that there. And as you can see, you get your 9 tents, which have all of your families located around the area. You get 1 main tent, which currently acts as your camp center or your town hall until you can build your own. You get a camp storage, which contains a bunch of iron, nails, thatch. You'll go through the nails and the thatch really quickly, early game. And to combat that, that is going to be one of the first buildings we're going to be putting down. Now, if you notice, I have not started the game time yet. The great thing about this particular game versus some other games like Transport Fever, you can actually build things while the game is still paused. Because the game uses a queue basis, so you place down a building, it goes into the queue, you place down another building, and that will be the next building that's built right after that. So let's go ahead and get started. If you see up here in the left-hand corner, it is giving you a brief tutorial to get you going through the first year of this town, village, whatever you want to call it. So it's telling us to build a forestry for wood production. Obviously, we need a lot of wood. So we'll go down here to our production tab, which gives you all kinds of different buildings, and watching other people that have played this since Alpha 1, it sounds like they've added a bunch of new buildings to this. I just recently got into the game because it just became available on Steam, so I'm getting my first look here with Alpha 3. I really love the game thus far, and I can't wait to see what other industries and buildings the developer adds. They do have plans to do buildings for health, like most likely healer huts or herbalists or hospitals. They have plans for education to help educate the young that you have. They do have a religion tab, but doesn't have very many buildings right now. I'm guessing that the developer is going to be adding more buildings later on. Same with the government tab, but we'll just have to wait to see. So let's get back into this. We need ourselves a forestry, and it happens to be the very first building. So if you look here, you can see that each building has a footprint that you can see in the form of hashed areas. The yellow hash is a general footprint that the building will take up, and that greenish blue hatched area, that is where your villagers will enter and exit the building. So what I like doing is I like rotating this to be oriented more towards a general area, direction that the villagers will tend to walk. So we'll just rotate that like that and place it right up here against the forest. This will speed up how long it takes your foresters to go to the trees, cut them down, and walk back to be able to start processing. Now, the next building that we want to place down is the thatchery. So we'll go back in here into the production tab, and we're going to hunt for the thatchery, which is down here in the lower left corner. And what we'll do is we'll look for a place where there's a lot of reeds, such as right here, and we'll go ahead and rotate the building to an orientation to where it's not pointed directly at the village, but not directly at the reeds either. And we'll go ahead and put that down. Now, if you look up here in the right-hand corner, you can see that the build queue is starting to grow, and that will hold as many buildings as you want. Now, once we have the forester built, this little message up here will tell you that you need to build houses for all of your villagers before wintertime. There's 9 villagers, so we need 9 houses, but we're not going to have them build all of them all at once. Next thing we're going to put down is we're going to put down a few houses, just to get things going. So we'll start off by placing 3 houses just in a general area, and I know that I'm going to want to have this area over here for more productions, such as our smithies and our carpenters area. That way all of the production is in one area. So what we'll do is we'll start by placing the houses right here and go to our left. In this orientation of the camera, that would be to the west. Let's go ahead and plop that down there, and if you hold down the shift key, it will automatically allow you to continue building the same building rather than having to constantly select the next one. The thing that got me interested in this game when I first saw little synopses of the game is the fact that the buildings snap to each other for the fences. That way you can still make, you know, a very organic looking town, but it has what an actual town has with the property lines where they snap to each other, and you don't have massive open spaces such as this that you have to contend with. So we'll just keep going in a somewhat straight area, but unfortunately I put that first house a little too close to the tent, so until that tent disappears we can't put a house there. So what we'll actually do is we'll select that box where the house would be, we'll go ahead and demolish that and move that back just a hair so that we can continue placing our houses down. I want to start with 3 houses. Start with, there's the third one. Then once we have these houses built, what we want the villagers to next build will be our smithy. So we're going to run out of nails quickly. That's built in the smithy. So we'll grab that smithy, and we will plop that down right about here. Smithy not only needs iron, which is found here in the camp storage right here, but it also needs charcoal, and the way you produce charcoal is with a charcoal pit. Now to start off with, you only need 1 charcoal pit, and we'll go ahead and plop this down here. Yeah, it says that we need to destroy some trees, but that'll be fine. Once the forester gets built, we can go ahead and they'll go ahead and cut that down. But if we didn't put that there, we could plop it down wherever we want, and it has no construction time and no construction cost, so it would instantly generate. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and plop that down right there, and as you see, it comes up here in the build queue because we need to take care of those 2 trees that I plopped it on top of. So now that we have that going, the next thing we want to build is another well. We have 1 well right here. You automatically get one when you put your village start in, just to get you going. But it has a very limited amount of water that it can store, and it takes a while to build up. One of the recommended walkthroughs that I've read that somebody has gone through and figured out recommends building 1 well for every 4 to 5 houses. So what we'll do is we'll take one of these wells, and if you look here under the water, there's actually 2. There's a platform and a well. This platform here is more for allowing your farms and cattle ranches and husbandry buildings to be able to pull water directly from the river. The water that this platform gets is not recommended for human consumption. In fact, if you hit this little help icon here, it will actually tell you, not suited for human consumption right there. So we'll just grab this well, and even this one has a entrance and an exit. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just plop that down right about here. Now, once that is built, we want the villagers to go back to building more houses, because of course we only have 3 so far, but we're going to start angling this down to where it forms more of a round area around where we want the village square. Actually, we won't do that. We'll actually make a village square. We'll snap that to the corner of that one house, just to have the angles correct. And then we'll move that slightly back until it de-snaps. Wow, that takes... There we go. Alright. This will allow the villagers space to go in and out of where the village square. We'll plop another 3 houses down there for a total of 6 houses now. And by this time, your carts, which you start off with 3 here in the camp cart parking, by this time, your carts are gonna start getting little on the damage side. And the way you repair those is with your carpenter right here. These people will also actually build more carts later on. Take that, and we'll rotate that around to where this production area over here actually forms a nice little square. And just plop that down right there. Alright. Then, because we put in another 3 houses, we actually want to put in another well right about here. And then the next thing we need to do is add 3 more houses. And go ahead and snap that right there, because we don't need them to be able to get out this way, because they can get out this way over there. So we'll snap that one right there. And we can't continue going in a line because we have the thatchery right there and the river right there. And eventually we're going to be putting in some fishing docks and some boat houses over here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to rotate this around, and I'm going to start making housing block. And we'll plop one there, and one there. That is 9 houses that will take care of all of these tents by the end of the year. But because we have these houses over here, it's going to take them a while to get over to one of these wells. Let's go ahead and just arbitrarily throw in another well. Let's actually throw that in right over here, which will eventually be the end of this housing. And that should get you going. So now, go ahead and unpause the game. And the first thing that will happen is you'll automatically get 5 builders. And all these builders are always male. Don't ask me why. I don't know. Can't change that. Builders are always male. But what they're immediately going to do is start building on your forester. And they'll grab all the wood that's piled up right here and just start working. So let's go ahead and speed this up to 3 times speed. This takes forever. And if you watch here, most games, you know, they have a few building stages, but with this game, you can actually see all of the different steps, such as they're pounding in the pilings for the footing of the houses right here. And if you click on this blueprint area, you can actually see all the resources that they need, all the different stages that it would go through, and they will go through and get this all built up. And I really like watching the buildings come up, because you can actually see what would normally be being built, except for the true interior of the building. So, alright, and there you go. So let's go ahead and pause this. Now each building, each production building, such as the stir, the smithy, the carpentry, the thatchery, they all require workers. And each building has a specific type of worker that they can hire. Now you can set, if you have multiple foresters, you can set the hiring option here for all of your foresters. Foresters cannot hire women. They're only men. And in order for the forestry to work, you need 2. So let's go ahead and immediately hire 2 men. If you look up here, you can see that we need 2 men because we have 2 vacant openings. Now, those would automatically be filled if time was progressing, but we had this paused, so it's not. And because we have 9 men, 5 of those are already builders. We still have 4 men that we can pull. Well, once we unpause this, we'll only have 2 more men that are available for labors. So let's go ahead and get that going. And they'll immediately start cutting trees down, specifically the trees for the charcoal pit. And they've already started working on the thatchery because we still have plenty of wood. And while they're building the thatchery, our foresters are starting to produce firewood and actual wood planks. Now, villagers will buy firewood directly from the forester. Oh, we are done with the thatchery. I guess I should reduce that down to 1 speed. Our villagers will buy firewood from the forester, but we can also set up market stalls once we get this more cleared out, that we can more easily buy firewood from as villagers. The other thing that I really like about this game, and you can kind of start seeing that right here in the village square, see how it's starting to gray out. This game does not allow you to build roads. You can go through all of these: housing, water, production, trade, and transport. The only type of road that you can build is the wooden bridge right here. You don't build roads. Roads generate as the people walk over the ground. So as you let this go, you can see the pathing algorithms generate the paths for all of these people. So let's go ahead and get this going. Now let's go down here to the thatchery. The thatcheries can hire both men and women. We don't want them to hire men. We want the men to be used for the production houses, such as the forester, the carpenter, the smithies, and the fisheries and the boathouses later on. So we'll uncheck hire men, and then we'll hire 1 woman. That's all you need. She will produce enough thatch quick enough to be able to take care of all your thatch needs. And if you look up here, while we were talking, they already started on the first house. You can also look up here, and once they've collected all of... Oh my word, I just realized we forgot something. See this symbol here? This symbol means that they cannot find clay anywhere because we forgot to put down the clay pit. So let's go in here to production, grab our clay pit here. Now the clay pit, unlike any other building, you cannot demolish the clay pit. Once you place it in, it makes a giant hole in the ground. And can't fill in giant holes in the ground, especially when you're removing a bunch of clay. The other thing about the clay pit is there is no build time and there is no build cost. So it's an auto place. So let's go back in here and let's see, where do we want to put the clay pit? Let's put the clay pit behind the over here in our production area, behind the forester. Just plop that down there. And as you see, as soon as we put that in, the cannot find clay icon of the first house disappears. Let's go ahead and start time back up. And you can see all the women over here. They're sitting on the benches. Oh, there's one guy because he doesn't have any job to do right now. In fact, what we want to do, we actually want to get the smithy going. So the great thing about the build queue is you come up here, you can actually drag things around. So say you don't want to build the smithy right now, you want to build it way down here, you can drag it down. But we want to actually have that being the thing built. And as soon as you drop that down, they will immediately start working on building the smithy. Also, you can see that because both of those trees were cut down, the charcoal pit is already going. And we already have laborers, in this case women, who are bringing firewood from the forester over to the charcoal pit. And once that gets about, I think it's 50,000 firewood, it'll light and it will generate a bunch of charcoal, and then that will sit there and be available. Eventually, we will want to build another second charcoal pit, but that will come in probably around tier 2. For now, one charcoal pit should be just fine. So, let's go ahead and speed up time again to triple time. Oh, let's actually drop this down. And while we're sitting here, up here you can see your treasury and your current resource stores. If we click on this, it'll bring up the economy tab, and you can see exactly where all of your income is from local sale of firewood, and once you have houses, your house rent, and where your expenses are going. In this case, salary. Right now, we can't do anything about constantly losing money because we don't have a town hall. Not going to worry about the town hall right now. Right now, we're more worried about getting people into houses. The town hall will start producing once we have all of the houses done. Right around August, September time frame of the first year. One of the walkthroughs that I had briefly read says that should be done in year 2, but doing it in this way where you place everything down all at once, you generally can start building on the year 2 structures towards the end of year 1, actually. And like I was saying earlier, as you see, the more and more people walk around, the more and more roads are generated. And the great thing about this is that, say I put up a fence that prevents them from walking across this area, or once the carpenter is built, they won't be able to walk there, so they'll have to walk around. As they stop using roads and routes, they'll eventually go back to grass. So, alright, and there we go. There's the smithy. Now, because your population is so limited right now, you only want one worker. And just like with the forestry, the smithy, you can only hire 10, which is just fine. We'll go ahead and hire just one worker, and he should show up here shortly. That is odd. Usually that's an automatic. Why? Oh, there we go. Just took a sec. Alright, and now that we have that taken care of, he's going to go and collect the iron from the camp stores. And once we have more firewood, the charcoal light up and generate, and once he has charcoal, he'll start making nails and metal parts. And eventually we'll set a limit for horseshoes. We don't need those right now, so we won't worry about having those made. Same with the bark. Eventually we'll need bark, but bark takes logs, and we don't want to use our logs right now because we need those for things such as all of our houses. So, right now we are pretty much set. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to let all of these build up, and once we're closer to being set to start making the year 2 buildings, I'll go ahead and bring you back. Alrighty, so at this point in time, it looks like we are almost done with the carpenters. Now, I do have to point out one thing. I did realize that I had made one slight mistake. When I had placed down this house here, I actually had it snapped to this corner because I was like, well, they won't need to go that way. But if we're making blocks, they'll need an easier way to get from this side of the housing area back into the marketplace for this house that's going to go right here, rather than walking all the way around just to go in. So I went ahead and moved that over just a little bit to where they would have a way for the villagers to get in and out. It also allows the ability to place the farms over here, or we might place them back over here. I don't know. We'll have to take a look at that. But let's go ahead and get this carpenter going. Now, if you click on a structure like the parking area, you can see the durability of the vehicles. Sorry, I had a mind fart there for a moment. You can see the durability of the vehicles that are in there, and as you can see, they're getting down to, each one of these handcarts is getting down to about halfway. So this carpenter being constructed at this time is really close to perfect timing. So we will let that continue. And then, just like with the smithy, we only want one worker. Now, at this time, we don't actually have... Oh, it looks like we do have that worker available. Ah, no, if you look, the worker is working here at the carpenter, but they stole it from the forester. Now, realistically, the carpenter is not going to be needed until we need to start repairing the handcarts, so we realistically could close that out and just leave it vacant and do just a tad bit of micromanaging while we go. But looking at my recording time, it looks like that is actually going to be it for this time. I want to keep the videos kind of short, but we've gotten all of the houses and everything set up and ready to go. And if you see here, we're getting ready to finish our 7th house right here, and it is only the middle of July. So we are doing really, really good. So we'll go ahead and end it here. Next time we come back, we'll be setting up our farms and getting the town hall going, as well as starting to build the trading post so that we can start bringing in more resources. Because this iron here that we have is not going to last us very long unless we start bringing in more resources. So, we will see you next time, and remember everyone, stay frosty out there. Have a good one.